मैं उसको बोली थी खाने के लिए।
दादी साहब गुस्सा।
चलो हैंडल है।
नहीं ये चेयर शीट मारो।
Good morning, all. Thank you all for the 75th virtual webinar Sadgun Sangh series Hazardous Waste Handling and Disposal. Asking the following topics. Recap of session 1. Let's go quickly for the agenda. Me.
Agenda Sadgun Sangh Meet. Virtual inauguration by Dr. Sundar Kataria, invoking the blessing of deity, chanting of Gayatri Mantra, introduction of speaker, presentation by Mr. Anandpal Singh, question and answer session, and lastly, the closing session. Brief introduction of Dr. Sundar Kataria. Sadgun Sangh, conceived and led by Dr. Sundar Kataria, driven with a mission to elevate the quality, safety, and environmental awareness level of industry. Sadgun Sangh is a series of educative, informative events aiming to illuminate professionals on possible solutions to current issues of industry and economy. He is a chairman and managing director for International Certification Services Private Limited. His academic qualification is Mechanical Engineer, AMIE, Honorary Doctorate, Business Management. His experiences are nuclear RAPC. He started his career in building India's first nuclear power plant at Rawat Bhata, Kota, Rajasthan. Oil and gas, EIL. He contributed in developing India's first oil and gas field at Bombay High Court. His achievements are he has a Lifetime Achievement Award of NACE Corcon and has received several national and international awards. I now request Dr. Sundar Kataria to virtually inaugurate the session.
कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः
Please join us for the recitation of Gayatri Mantra.
स्वाहा तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो न प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वाहा तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो न प्रचोदयात्
Introduction of the keynote speaker. He is a regional manager, North International Certification Services Private Limited. His academic qualification is BE Mechanical. Area of specialization and experience are: he is qualified engineer in helicopter, airframe and engines for repair and second line maintenance of allowed aircraft and the associated equipment. Qualified engineer for hydraulic trolley, ground power unit, CG set, elementary course in casualty, firefighting, crash and civil defense from Civil Defense Staff College, Mumbai. He is a lead auditor for ISO 9001, ISO 14001, ISO 45001, ISO 50001, 13485, SA 8000, and ISO 27001. Please welcome Mr. Anandpal Singh. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. And I'll request who will be sharing the screen from your end. Kindly share the presentation. So,
Yes, sir.
first of all, a warm welcome on this session. It is a very exhaustive session of hazardous waste management. In today's life, when everyone is working for the development or various other economic development and industrialization. And in this industrialization, the output or what we are getting is the waste. And for that, we are continuously striving hard to get ourselves free from waste. Last session also I have taken this topic only, and I have requested for extension of this topic again. I'll request to share my presentation.
Yes, so we are sharing.
Please.
Sir, just give us 2 minutes, sir.
No issue, no issue.
You can start, sir.
Okay. So thank you very much. And once again, I welcome on this second day of the hazardous waste management on industrial safety series, waste disposal, waste handling and disposal. This is again a very important subject which always we are looking in. I hope you all can hear me properly.
Yes, sir.
So in this rapid industrialization, as I told, we are leading towards the depletion of natural resources. This is second part. Please go ahead. And first, we'll just have a quick recap because otherwise the linkages will not be there. In day one, we have covered about hazardous waste. We have tried to understand, then their classification and the operators requirement, because here the operators plays a very big role in managing the waste. And I have categorically said the first end segregation, which we missed, and make a chaos at the segregation end or the final end. And then we have we have gone through the import and export of hazardous waste and other waste. Now this other waste has been added in 2016 hazardous waste management handling rule, transboundary rule. That other waste, that also we have discussed, and the importance of the record keeping. Now we'll start with the all these topics again, and then we will go through the hazardous waste generators training, because training plays a very big role in that. And then what all the hazardous and other waste managements are there, their disposal, and the hazardous waste emergencies and other issues are there. We will be discussing. Please go ahead. So we have gone through the various abbreviations. These abbreviations have to be understood by us, because whenever we are referring many data or any information, sometimes it is said to be APCD, that is air pollution control device. Likewise, CPCB. What is CPCB? What is SPCB? So it plays a very vital role again while referring certain information with regard to hazardous waste management. Next. So this is again the root cause of all these wastes are due to the rapid industrializations, and with that we are getting a cause or a problem of depletion of natural resources and increasing the pollution in the country. Then we are generating a huge quantity of hazardous waste with the industrialization process. And it causes a severe environmental problems and also lead to economic development to the generation of huge quantity of hazardous waste. Next. So we require a sophisticated and specialized treatment due to the presence of a mixture of chemical and substance. Now, sophisticated and specialized treatment we have discussed. It comes through the resources, the commitment, and the awareness, which we have gone through and seen how it can help all those things, like how use of hazardous substances, use of inappropriate technologies, end of pipe treatment of effluents and emissions. Also, we have discussed that 83% of the total hazardous waste in is generated from 7 states. Now, once the problem has been identified, the respective state has to take care of that, and CPCB is going very hard to control all those things and capturing these data. And these data are widely promoted and displayed at various locations. And in the environmental statistics, India 2016 also, it has said that about 90% of the total hazardous waste in the country is being contributed by 10 states. in which the top one is Maharashtra, Gujarat, and Andhra Pradesh, which is contributing 60% of the total hazardous waste. Next. The policy framework has been made, and it has initiated with 1989 with the hazardous waste management and handling rule, which was published in 1989. Subsequently, it was amended in 2008, and later the current version of hazardous waste management and handling rule is 2016, in which it is regulated by MOEF, that is Ministry of Environmental, Forest and Climate Change, is held by Government of India. Central Pollution Control Board, which is looking after centrally across the India. State Pollution Control Boards, which is looking the state issues, and the pollution control committees, which are formed under the state pollution control boards and working and reporting to them. We have to understand what is waste actually. Waste, we have in detail, we have gone through. I am just taking a refreshment in that, because in this session also I felt very tiring, and deleting most of the slides to cut short into 1 hour period. So it was very difficult for this, because subject is very wide. So we have to understand what is waste. Any product or any material which is not in use is a waste, or the generator has no further use for the purpose of production, transformation, or any consumption. And this can be generated during extraction of raw materials, when they are making the raw material for the production, when the processing the raw material, and the consumption of final product. When we consume it, then also that waste. I have taken a chips packet, and I've taken the chips, and then the waste is generated. Packet is the waste. Or likewise, there are other examples and other human activities. There are, and this is human activity is the most common factor into this. We'll come in this point also in detail. Next. Previous slide. Just go on previous slide. Okay. So waste is specified in column 3 of schedule 1, that having equal to or more than the concentration limit specified for the constituents in class A and B of schedule 2. It is given what is the concentration limits are there, and when it is crossing that limit, it is classified as class A or class B, and it is very clearly mentioned in the schedule 2. And any characteristics as specified in class C of schedule 2 is categorized as a class C. And waste specified in part A of schedule 3 in respect of import or export. Wherever we this import and export word comes, then schedule 3 speaks about that. Next. We have seen the type of waste: flammable, ignitable, corrosive, toxic, reactive or explosive, substances or waste liable to spontaneous combustion, substance or waste which is in contact with the water, emit flammables, oxidizing waste, other organic peroxides, and there are many waste which we have gone through in detail. Next. This is other type of waste: poison, infectious substances, liberation of toxic gases in contact with air or water, ecotoxic, and many other. Next. We have also gone through the labeling, which is very important into hazardous waste management. That what type of label, how it has to be displayed, and we have discussed that also. Next. This is one thing which we have discussed in last time, that how to identify the waste. And this waste identification is very important. because until the waste is not identified properly, we cannot dispose it. Next. This is a flow chart which is taken from Hazardous Waste Management and Handling Rule 2016, and it shows how to determine a hazardous waste, whether it is a hazardous or a non-hazardous waste, whether it is a waste or not. Next. We have also discussed the responsibility of the occupier. The occupier is the sole responsible of any process, raw material or in process, all those things we have discussed, and he is responsible for pollution prevention and also the safe disposal. The storage requirement was discussed. In more than 90 days, we cannot store a hazardous waste, and a maximum of quantity of 10 tons. Next. And it can be extended based on the storage conditions. Next. This is the labeling requirement, which is again a mandatory and a regulation as per Form 8. As per Form 8, Appendix E of the rule with the fluorescent yellow color background, written in red word as hazardous waste, and it is shown in the present slide also, that how the labeling must be there. Next. Hazardous waste accumulation or storage area in large establishment where a number of waste are being generated. So a fence around the area is to be done, and it is not mandatory in case if it is restricted from unauthorized personnel. Next. These are the things which we have to keep in mind, that while doing the audit, or when we are going and seeing or we are storing, at that time we have to make sure that this hazardous waste, wherever the storage area is there, it is properly being controlled. Next. Good practice for hazardous waste handling and storage. That also we have discussed in the last meeting, that maintain the container in good conditions, keep the hazardous waste container closed at all times. Most of the time it is clearly written, no hazardous waste or a waste has to be open to air. Never avoid fill the line to the top of any container containing liquid hazardous waste, and follow working procedures and use of designated personal protective equipments. The container management also being discussed. It is very self-understood. Next. Next. How, because management of an empty container is again a very key area where we are generally missing, because the moment we use a suppose paint remover container, now what to do of that paint remover container, whether it is hazardous waste or not, that has to be categorized, and accordingly it has to be managed. Next. And this is a responsibility of the occupier. Import and export of hazardous and other waste, because it is very clearly specified in Rule 2016 that hazardous waste is banned for import for disposal in the country. However, it is allowed for recycle, reuse, or recovery and co-processing purposes. Next. This is the flow chart which is used to determining of import and export of hazardous waste as per Rule 2016, and an occupier must also know that what type of hazardous waste can be imported. Next. Responsibility of importers under MOEF and CC in Form 5, they have to put all the requirement. It is given in rule that how the requirement has to be given, and they have to have an import license from DGFT and must have a valid consent under Water Act 1974 and Air Act 1981, and authorization under the authorization under e-waste management handling, and also hazardous waste management authorization. Next. We have discussed about the record keeping, because ultimately whatever we have done so far, until it is not kept into the record, we will not able to justify, or we will not show anyone the compliances. So record keeping is very important in this, and later this hazardous waste generator training requirement is also being to be identified. Next. Right. So now I have just taken a privilege to explain you about the usage, about our first session. Today we will be covering, please go ahead, hazardous waste generated training requirements. What all has to be there? Then hazardous and other waste management, disposal, hazardous waste emergency
training.
Next. Next. Now, training requirement for LQG, that is large quantity generators. This is specifically, please mute. This is specifically, specifically given in hazardous waste management and handling rule, that what training has to be identified at large quantity generators. And this large quantity generators is already explained that many large establishments have their captive facilities for their management of the hazardous waste in-house. It is important for them to provide proper training to their employees who are engaged in handling of such waste for environmental safe management. These LQGs must ensure that employees receives initial hazardous waste training within 6 months of receiving or changing a job assignment inside the organization. Specifically, LQG must ensure that personnel receive classroom or the on-job training on handling, storage, and emergency response consideration of management hazardous waste. This is grossly being missed, and this is the cause where we are not able to handle, or we are not able to manage the hazardous waste or the waste from the generation point. At a minimum, the training must be designed to ensure the facility personnel are able to respond effectively to emergencies by familiarizing them with the emergency procedure. Because when we are holding hazardous waste, when we are holding waste, there is a lot of emergencies are there in that. It could be the emissions are there, it could be fire, it could be various other health hazards could be there. So all those things has to be taken as an emergency situation, and this procedure must be in place. Also, the emergency equipment and emergency system also to be made available. And it by using, inspecting, repairing, and replacing emergency and monitoring equipment when required. Communication of alarm system, response to fire explosions, response to groundwater contamination incident. Now, the spent oil is stored on directly on the soil. When it is stored on the soil directly without the secondary containment, it is going to contaminate the soil, and which will penetrate and go into the underground water body. Then the shutdown operations, annual refreshment training. It is not that once training is given, it is over. It has to be given the refresher training also. A training plan has to be made available with them, in which
legal में लखवाने चाहिए. Second amendment rules में अंदर लख 12/2021 में. અને
who is please mute. So facilities must maintain a training plan, and we as an auditor or when we go as an, so we must check what kind of training has been identified in the entire annual training program, and who are being given the training at what point of time. All those things has to be taken care. Next. Next. So hazardous waste management and hierarchy. This is very commonly being seen and being discussed at every platform, that we must have a hierarchy of hazardous waste management, and it is told in every forum that it has to be minimized, it has to be segregated, it has to be stored, the storage has to be proper, the transportation is to be proper, and the treatment and disposal must be as per the norms. It is being discussed, being communicated each and every time. But we are not following it up. So waste management system involves basically a two-tier approach worldwide, involving prevention and control of environmental pollution. The preventive, minimizing waste generation. So first we have to look into how we can minimize the waste generation. And it can be done through improvement in process technologies and may completely eliminate waste streams. Now in each process, we have to see what kind of technology is being used, whether the other technology is available or not, and how far it is economically viable to the manufacturer, and how much waste he can like save to generate into his processes. Improvement in plant operations. In the plant operation, we have seen in JED assessment also, zero defect, zero effect. There also it was a focus that the movement of the raw material, movement of the finished product is to be minimized. The plant's equipment, machineries are to be so designed so that with that process, that waste is not generated or any product is not going bad. Because any product which is going bad, it is a waste. Promoting use of material recovery, recycle, reuse waste. The hazardous waste management must also have a strategy. If not managed properly, it have consequences. And in view of its hazard potential, the major obstacle in hazard waste management in our country are more often institutional and behavior rather than technical. I was discussing this in the beginning. We generally blame the management, we generally blame the system, but are we at our own level having some control on this hazardous waste management? No. So it is an institutional and behavioral rather than technical. So first we have to have this basic understanding, and it is more related to the awareness and proper training. Once it is done, the hazardous waste are recyclable waste at the source, and thus increasing the volume of hazardous waste, which will increase the cost of treatment and disposal, and the depriving themselves of possible use of recoverables to minimize use of virgin raw materials. More it is being mixed, more it is being kept along with some other product, it is going to create a lot of emissions, and it is very difficult to sometimes treat also, and having a lot of emergencies activities also. Next. So the one mantra is segregation is of utmost importance for waste management in a company. In the hazardous waste management hierarchy, the waste minimization is the top of the hierarchy, and the treatment and disposal of residual is at the bottom of the hierarchy. Rather, we start with the treatment. The moment we ask about the hazardous waste, we are treating like this, we are treating this. We have to start with the minimization. How we are going to minimize? What is the data of waste generation with them? So that is how the rule is asking that a generator or a occupier must have a generation and disposal of the hazardous waste. So generation, what is the generation? So once he is having the data, he will be able to have a control on this. And this can be achieved through two steps. One is systematically identify all hazardous and other waste in your company as per the schedule. Schedule is very clear in this, and then characterize and classify all hazardous waste. So how to characterize and classify, what all the classifications are there, we have discussed in the last presentation also. It is very well given in Rule 2016. One can go and see that it is very clear and self communicating. Next. So first you have to sorry, all generators of the hazardous waste have to have a systematically identifying all hazardous and other waste in their company. Then they have to characterize and classify all hazardous waste, assign cost. This is one now at the nation level also, CPCB is trying to have a mechanism to assigning a cost to all waste. Like we are using a water bottle, which is very essential nowadays because of this contamination, because of bio hazards and various other problems are there in the country, like pandemic diseases. So everyone is dependent on bottled water. So this bottled water, after usage of that bottle water, that bottle is the hazardous waste or the waste. If it is not properly disposed there and that place, it is created as a hazardous waste. So now country is also looking how to give a cost so that people takes a responsibility and earn some credit on this, which will help them in their further course of action. Select and plan for waste management measure to segregate waste at source of generation. This is to be ensured that waste has to be segregated at source. And this we have to start with our home. We have to start educating our, because when if I am not having instrumentation control on my way of work, then it is very difficult to tell others. So we have to start doing it from our own, and then we can start doing at our company level or the occupier level, and then we can start checking others by joining hands through NGOs, through auditing, through various other social compliances, CSR activities. Have waste analyzed based on the internal report. So record keeping is again giving, because ISO is being said that you had to make too many records. It is not too many records, only the data. And that record gives us a valuable information in which we can take the conclusion or the decision. So that data we must have an internal report, what kind of hazardous waste we are having, how much we are generating, from which process it is coming, so that we can go and see whether we can minimize it or not. Arrange for safe on-site collection according to their compatibility. Now, sorry, please go. On-site collection is being done, but most of the time these on-site collections, when it is being collected, the container are not fit to use. Container are leaking in case if it is a liquid waste. In case if it is a solid waste, the transport is not properly covered, not properly labeled. So all those things has to be taken care for safe disposal. Carry out preliminary or primary treatment on site. Whatever you can do it before disposing, before giving it to the hazardous waste management disposal, must be having on-site treatment, and arrange for off-site treatment and disposal through the third party. Next. This is the possible source of the hazardous waste generation in a company, which one must understand. With this diagram, the possible source of hazardous and other waste in the facility is being shown. That when we are handling in raw materials, this is an input to the production. These raw materials, if are not properly stored, properly handled, or properly taken care during the process, are going to create and be categorized as a hazardous substances through spillages, or if it is not used in time, or you're not stored properly in the proper storage conditions. So it may convert into, and as I said in my previous slide, any waste which is any product which is cannot be used for their purpose, it is categorized as a waste, and if it is harmful, it is hazardous waste. When we are taking in the production process, the emissions control, how the product is being taken care, what all the air pollutions are there, what is the device being used, what is the system is being used, it categorize the, or it creating a hazardous waste in that. In case if it is a liquid, then it is treated through ETP. And from the production, the first thing the organization is looking for the desired product, for what the organization is sitting and making. So desired product is for which they are producing. While making the desired product, the byproduct is being there, which they say we are selling it into second price or lesser price, or we sell into the different market or different purchaser or different customer, but it is a byproduct. Its life is also reduced. It is having, so that is a byproduct. Yes, definitely being used, but has to have a control on this. Then process residue, that is liquid and solid waste, hazardous and non-hazardous waste. It is already discussed. From the ETP, we get sludge. in sludge, sorry, back. Sludge में, yeah. Sludge also to be categorized and tested. It is not to be disposed without test, whether it is a hazardous sludge or non-hazardous. It has to be sent to the NABL accredited lab. Then your APCD residue for mostly for the hazardous, that is air pollution control devices residue. Next. So hierarchy in 4 major stages. One is reduce, reuse, recycle, and residual. And we know these 4 R's and we are practicing it, but we are not following it thoroughly and ethically. Next. So first mantra of management of waste is reduce and minimize the amount of waste produced. अगर हमने कम वेस्ट प्रोड्यूस किया है तो हमारी आधी प्रॉब्लम वहीं पर ही रिजॉल्व हो जाए. आधी क्या, मोस्ट ऑफ द प्रॉब्लम आर रिजॉल्व देयर इटसेल्फ if I am not producing any waste. Once in case it is there, as I said, it is a byproduct or it is used somewhere, it is reused in the processing again by making some other product with that thing. So it is use of material more than once. And again, after usage also, it is being reused. Then recycle, use material to make new product. Then recover energy and metal from waste. So energy recover is we are recovering energy because we are using as a product for fuel, as a fuel. So it is recovering the energy. Then safe disposal to waste to landfills. This is final disposal. That is most desirable option, and the least desirable option is the disposal. Next. United Nations, that is Environmental Program, 1990. Their headquarters is in Nairobi. They have said in 1990 that the cleaner production is defined as the continuous application of an integrated environmental strategy to process product and services to increase efficiency and reduce risk to human and the environment. As in my previous slide also, I have said that waste, hazardous waste, both are risk to the human and environment. So it is directly coming in your occupational health and safety management system, and also parallelly it is coming in environmental management system because it is affecting both. Next. Waste minimization and cleaner production. As a generator is the person who is generating the hazardous waste. The facility must always try to minimize the amount of waste generated, and there is a two common approaches to minimize the waste. That includes waste avoidance or pollution prevention through the cleaner production, recovery, reuse, recycling. This is being repeated and being known to everyone, but still at the end, when we don't have the data, we don't have the record, we don't have the information, so it is not being able to control. The occupier must have a program in place to reduce the volume and toxicity of waste generated to the degree of the facility has determined, to the economical, practicable, currently available, and which minimize the present and future threat to human health and the environment. Next. Prevention means measure taken before a substance, material, or product has become waste, which reduce the quantity of waste. Also, through the use of reuse of product or the extension of the lifespan of the product. When we increase the lifespan of the product, it also helps, because like now it is defined that a vehicle can be only used up to 15 years. So it is generating waste. So if it is by automobile manufacturer, in case they able to increase the life of the vehicle of from 15 to 20 or 20 to 25, so definitely that waste generation will be reduced. The adverse impact of the generated waste on the environment and the human health. The content of previous. Go on, previous. Go in the previous slide, please. Go in the previous. 1 minute.
स्क्रीन बंद है ना?
चालू है थोड़ा, ठीक है, no issue. So the occupier must have a program and how to use that, and that the content of harmful substances in material and products in substitution, reducing the quantity as well as the hazardous level of the waste, increase efficiency and process and product design. This is again a very important requirement for prevention of hazardous waste. The design must be good so that it is not failing in between. Improved maintenance and operations of equipment. So hazardous waste utilizations in international practice, 250 cement works in Europe utilize about 3 million tons of hazardous waste per year. And in national practice, now this data is of 2009, that ACC co-processed 77,751 tons of waste, substituting 61,965 tons of coal. So there is a lot of initiatives from the nation and the companies involved into large quantity generators. Next. the best conditions for the utilization of hazardous waste and other waste in environmentally safe manner. Internationally, the use of cement industry for managing hazardous waste has been practiced since long. However, it has been established in India after a series of field trials by CPC. So Central Pollution Control Board is very much keen to have all these controls in place. Next. So waste recovery and the coal replacement in the cement industry has only been practiced by for a relative short time in the country. As such, the thermal substitution rate, that is TSR, is still below 1%. ACC, Ambuja, Leopard, Shri Cement, Ultratech are involved in co-processing activities with hazardous waste. India's top two cement producers, ACC and Ultratech, has reached a TSR of 0.59% and 0.47%, respectively, as of February 2011. That is Karunakaran and Ghosh 2011 judgment report. Next. Many cement companies have no experience with co-processing of alternative fuels. Very few have utilized municipal solid waste in the form of refuse derived fuel. The substitution of raw material with industrial inorganic waste management, waste material like fly ash from coal-fired thermal power plants and blast furnace slag, BFS, from the production of pig iron is widely practiced. In Indian cement, standards allows up to 35% clinker substitution by fly ash or 70% by BFS. Next. Benefits of co-processing in the cement industries. So there are a number of benefits. Please go ahead. And for co-processing hazardous and other waste cements industry, some of the benefits are high temperature, that is up to 1400 degree Celsius. Please go ahead, slide. (1400 Celsius), and the residence time is of 4 to 5 seconds in oxygen. In rich atmosphere ensures that destruction of organic compound. Any acid gas formed during combustion are neutralized by alkaline raw material and are incorporated into the cement clinker. Interaction of the flue gas and the raw material present in the kiln ensures that non-combustible part of the residue is held back in the process and is incorporated into clinker in a practically irreversible manner. And the fact is that about 25 cement plants have started co-processing in India, and CPCB has tested and permitted the following main category of hazardous waste. That is paint sludge from the automobile sector, petroleum refining sludge, tar from production of toluene deisocyanate, that is TDI tar, effluent treatment plant sludge, and plastic waste and tire chips. Next. Next. So no waste is generated that requires subsequent processing. This will have environmental and other benefits as below: land disposal or incineration of waste, future liability for waste and associated problems, investment on developing TSDF, that is your treatment, storage, disposed facility, gain environmentally responsible image, be seen a good steward of resources. Reduction in GHG, that is greenhouse gases emissions, and related benefit of carbon trading. Conversion of waste into energy as a raw mix component, reduce burden on TSDF, conservation of fossil fuel and raw material resources, immobilization of toxic and heavy material, reduction in energy, cement production low cost. Next. So material and energy recovery. So whether because from the waste, either we can recover the material or the energy. So whether the hazardous waste can be sent for recovery, treatment or disposal option depends upon the chemical and physical properties of the waste. What is the properties of the waste decides what kind of recovery we are going to get. Recovery option may include various type of material and energy recovery. Material recovery makes use the material value embedded in the waste, whereas energy recovery utilize its calorific value. When choosing between material and energy recovery for a given waste type, priority should be given to the option that has less negative environmental impacts. With regard to the application of the recycled recovered product, 3 types of material recovery can be possible. One is on-site recycling of residues and reusing them for the same application as where they were generated. And the second one is processing of residues in order to use them for off-site application in a different processes. And the third one is, next, the energy recovery. So in that, the principal purpose of energy recovery is to make use of the energy value embedded in the waste. It could be liquid, slurry, and solid waste with sufficient calorific value, such as spent lube oil, solvents, tank bottom sludge, solid and semi-solid grease, wax, organic distillations, residues, waste wood and sawdust, waste paper and plastic packaging material, etc., can be used as substitute or alternate fuel for all industrial processes that requires thermal energy inputs. These are the following waste types with the calorific values, which is given here, that refuse derived fuel and municipal solid waste. The calorific value is 2,800 to 3,800 calorific value, and for used tires it is 6,700 to 7,700, and likewise this is very clearly given in the Holtec and CPCB documents. Next. This energy recovery is to make use of the energy value embedded in the waste. And this already repeated slide, please go ahead. Next. So these these are the waste recycling oblique reuse opportunities in India. So type of wastes generated like fly ash from thermal power plant, and generally the quantity of waste is 200 million tons per annum. And utilized in fly ash, pozzolana cements, increase of ash dike height, road construction, brick manufacturing, etc. In blast furnace slag from iron and steel plant, 10 million ton per annum waste is generated and used as a slag cement. In steel melting shops, slag from steel plant, it can be used as a slag cement for after removal of iron. Likewise, it has given the complete recycling and reuse opportunity, and is given in Rule 2016, Hazardous Waste Management and Handling. Next. Apart from these, there are a number of waste streams which has potential for waste utilizing either through recovery and or manufacturing of valuable products. The following tables highlight the type of waste which has potential for utilization other than co-processing. So it is given very clearly that what are the type of hazardous waste for utilizations and product can be manufactured. Like hydrofluorosilicic silicic acid waste is used to manufacture sodium silica fluoride. Waste pickling liquid, you must have seen waste pickling liquid in various industries being collected and used to make ferrous sulfate. Spent chromic acid solution is being used to manufacture chromate and dischromate salts. Spent anode butt, carbon electrode, carbon source of in steel smelting. Ethylene glycol residue as a fuel in captive power. It is used as an energy resource. Next. These are the best practices of hazardous waste utilizations other than co-processing. CPCB had granted permission to some of the unit to utilize their hazardous waste within their premises as per hazardous waste management handling rule. So it is based on the capability. The organization can opt for permission to utilize their hazardous waste inside or within the organization. Next. Because you cannot claim that this hazardous waste is there, I'm using it, but you have to prove it that it is not further having any implications onto the environment or to the health of the employees. Next. Next. Disposal. So disposal is an operation which is not recovery. This is the final and the least required thing, which is less appreciable, but it is to be done, because when last stage is the recovery, even where the operation has the reclamation of substances or energy as a secondary consequence. Further, it is the process where waste is not subjected to further closed loops recycling management. So it has to be a closed loop recycling management. I'll try to show you what kind of closed loop is there, and the proper landfilling and incineration without energy recovery, or typically example for disposal operations. Next. This is the hazardous waste management strategy to be followed. Process modification, that is clean technologies. As I discussed in my initial slides, that first the clean production has to be the technologies also to be designed, and various other factors has to be considered during the process manufacturing or any modification being done. Then waste minimization, or in case if it is not minimized, how to reuse within the process. Then permit environmentally sound recycling facilities for Schedule 4 waste. Waste utilization resource recovery. So what all resource you can recover it through material or energy. Waste utilization by co-processing, like it is being done in cement kiln. Waste utilization of energy recovery, like any of thing which is used in as a energy in boiler or a furnace, and that has to be used in a very closed or a very secured manner. Thermal treatment, restriction in captive, common incinerator with possibilities of energy recovery, stabilization, solidification of waste, and secured landfilling, that is captive or common TSDF. Next. The last option for the hazardous waste management is to treat and or dispose the waste in an environmentally safe manner. This is first and foremost requirement. Depending upon the type of waste, its characteristics, land disposal or thermal destruction through incineration can be adopted. Such facilities can be either captive or common. Design and operational norms of such facilities should be strictly follow the guidelines published by Central Pollution Control Board. Next. Here, please go on the previous slide. The quality management system plays a very vital role in aspect of hazardous waste management, which should start right from the procurement of raw material. Now, when we are going into an organization, when we are handling some processes as a procurement, as a purchase manager, or as a quality personnel, or as an auditor, we must know what kind of raw material is being used. What is the hazardous substance that? How it is going to, after usage, whether it can be disposed in an environmentally friendly manner, whether any other substitution is available or not, and which will optimizing the waste minimization with 3R till the final treatment or disposal. So procurement and commodity management, then point of generation, it has to be segregated, stored as per the storage conditions, then transfer or transport in a properly closed and labeled container, and the treatment has to be done in a environmentally friendly manner where the environmental is not affected, and it is a closed loop. This is a total quality management strategy in hazardous waste management. Next. So every occupier must ensure that the system developed is in accordance with the regulatory requirement and are being followed strictly within the organization to avoid any legal repercussions. The organizations are not aware, and then they are being penalized by CPCB or SPCB or any other pollution control committee. For that, they must have this data with that in hard copy or in black and white, where they can say what kind of hazardous waste is company is having. So they have to identify whether it is identified or not, then segregated from non-hazardous one, all hazardous waste classified as per schedule 1, 2, and 3, and are quantified. What is the quantity they're having at that time? Have you identified the source of the hazardous waste and character side? Now, the person who is handling the hazardous waste, he is not knowing from where this hazardous waste has come. So that is again a important requirement. You know the composition of all the hazardous waste produced in your company. So what is the compositions area? Because hazardous waste, एक बार वेस्ट जनरेट हो गया तो वो ये समझा जाता है कि ये डस्टबिन वाला काम है और ये हमारा काम नहीं है. But it is also a heavy, high-level structure and knowledge subject. You have complied all the relevant data related to hazardous waste. You meet all the regulatory requirement on hazardous waste, including authorization, because you can't hold the hazardous waste until you don't have the, in case if it is generated through your process also, you must have a authorization from Pollution Control Board for hazardous waste. You have to check whether you have sufficient space to store your hazardous waste. That is why the storage condition, storage area is also, and it has to be properly closed or restricted for the person, no one who is not authorized should go there. And you have collected and stored all your hazard waste in environmentally sound manner. Because if we don't collect hazardous waste properly, must have seen it is a very practical thing. The waste vehicle which is going not properly covered, and half of the waste flies off on the road, and it is not properly covered and not labeled what kind of waste, whether it is a municipal waste, whether it is a biomedical waste, what is waste. You must have seen, I have personally seen that many times, that biomedical waste, the syringes, the cotton waste, and various other biomedical waste are lying on the road because they have not purposely left, but it has flown from there. It is not properly secured. So that is collected and stored in a properly manner. And have you marked and labeled? It is again a requirement of term, where the term card has to be there, and how this has to be labeled. It is clearly given in the rule. Next. So when you are setting up of common hazardous waste treatment, storage and disposal facilities, very commonly it is being said CHWTSDF. Common hazardous waste treatment, storage, and disposable facility. If someone gets this opportunity to visit such industry, you will come to know how good work they are doing it, and for the nation and for the society, their contribution, that the waste which is going to create a nuisance into our society or into our livelihood is properly managed. So these common facilities are envisaged to help the SMEs to dispose of their hazardous waste, because no SMEs will have that facility, because it requires a lot of cost, lot of infrastructure. So to have this properly disposed, the common facilities have been planned, and it is on by paying that. So they have to pay for this, and as per the latest CPCB, there are 29 common secured landfills facilities, SLFs, with a total disposal capacity of about 34 million ton, and 14 common incineration in 7 states with a total capacity of about 0.45 million tons per annum, in order to take care of the hazardous waste generated from various industries. And it is showing the pathways of hazardous waste movement, that how a waste generator generates, hold, and send through the transport, which is properly secured manner, sent to the storage area. From the storage area, it goes to the treatment, that is closed loop, and from there it is disposed. And in case if it is required back to the generator, it gives back to the generator. In case if it is to be disposed to the authorized area, so they dispose accordingly. Next. So the components of CHWT TSDF is that in an integrated waste management facility has all the components, right from the collection, transport, centralized storage, treatment, physical, chemical, and thermal, and landfill disposal. They are having all the facilities. An integrated CHWT-SDF may have the following components. They must have a lab, storage area, transportation mechanism, treatment, disposal, weighing bridge, container unloading and storage for the solid, tanker unloading and storage for liquid, laboratory for testing, waste recovery, incineration, solidification, stabilizations, secure landfill, ETP, leachate treatment, emergency equipment, and other. And this is need for the development of the total, that is TSDF, treatment, storage, and disposal facility. That SME who are not able to afford this hazardous waste treatment at their own, and the smaller facilities who cannot hold this due to the remuneration or the cost issues, and very difficult to regulate and monitor the regulation norms, and it is they are not having the adequate storage area. Next. Other facilities. Next. At site is stormwater, drainage channel, and approach road map. Please move the slide. Leachate treatment system, groundwater monitoring wells, closure system, fence and gate for the hazardous waste, and approach and internal roads, waste inspection facility to monitor waste received, weighing bridge, fire protection equipment, earth moving equipment, light arrangements, safety provisions, and health inspection for workers, and water and electricity supply. Next. Next. Yeah. So this is an aerial view of CHWT SDF at Mumbai. This is giving a complete layout how a CHWT TSDF looks like, and the waste collection and transportation is being done there. which encourage separation of recyclable and incompatible waste at the point of generation, so that the collection point and receiving stations do not become sorting point, because they are not the sorting point. Sorting has to be there in advance. Use of compatible bags, tanks, and containers specifically designed and manufactured for storage and transportation of hazardous waste. Follow applicable rules, guidelines, and standard for packaging, labeling, and transport of hazardous waste. Adequate label all transport tanks and containers to identify the content, hazard, and action required in various emergency situations. This is very clearly explicit given into Hazardous Waste Management Handling Rule 2016. And to maintain a regular collection schedule with sufficient frequency to avoid accumulation of hazardous waste at the source of generation. So whosoever having the agreement or have an arrangement of this facility, so they are making sure that the hazardous waste are not stored more than the quantity or more than the days required by the regulations. Next. The waste receipt, unloading, and storage it is employs sufficient personnel with the requisite qualifications and visually observe, weigh, and record incoming waste loads, carry out the fingerprint analysis of waste as per the CPCB protocols to determine the waste suitability for TSDF and decide disposal option, because until it is not identified in advance what kind of hazardous waste is there, so it is disposal will be difficult. Reject or reprocess the incomplete waste, process and the incompatible waste, store the waste as per the compatibility in safe, secured, and designated area equipped with safety and emergency prepared measures. Collect runoff the leachates from area used for waste storage and treat runoff leachates to meet applicable environmental standards, and minimize the storage of flammable liquids on site, that is few flammable and the waste. Next. Next. Waste pre-treatment, that is design and operate these facilities in accordance with the applicable rules and guidelines. Test the eligibility of pre-treated waste for various toxic CPCB and US EPA guidelines prior to disposal in say landfilling. Employ various physiochemical treatment such as sludge chemical treatment, sludge dewatering, blending, solidification, and stabilization. Solvent organic recovery for volume dewatering reduction, immobilizations, minimization of leachate generation, recycling. This is a pre-treatment requirement, and the design and operate these facilities in accordance with the applicable rules. There are various rules are there related to hazardous waste management. Test the leachability of pre-treated waste for various toxic as per CPCB US EPA guidelines for prior to disposal in safe landfilling. Next. This is again for the incineration. The design and operate the incinerator in accordance with the CPCB guidelines, and the DRE should be more than 99.999%, except the waste with the characteristics that conform to the feed requirement. Continuously monitor the incinerator parameters, reduce the generation and emission of air pollution control devices, and treat combustion gases to remove metal and acid gases and control fugitive emissions from the combustion zone. Next. This is the incineration flow diagram, which gives a clear view how things are being taken care. That is one is starting from the feeding mechanism through the rotary clean, goes into the second combustion chamber, the waste heat boiler. Then it is again quick cooling tower, and they are having the activated carbon storage. Then it comes to the de-duster, and then through the draft fan, it goes to the chimney and emitted as per the emission norms. Next. That is secured landfill. All these secured landfills are there. It has been seen that at various places they used to have the landfilling which are not properly designed, properly developed, or to have as per the CPCB guidelines. And while constructing, it has to be inspected for the liners and other layer of uniformity, damage, and imperfection, and the corrective action to be taken immediately for any damage happens. Many of the time we have seen that we have a ETP storage tank, water tank, which is being treated. So in 10 years back, that cemented tank is being made, no inspection is being done, whether what is the amount of water which is going down, and whether there is crack or not, and how it is being seen. There's no inspection being done. So it is equally for the secured landfill also. And all do not operate the SLF during monsoon season. Make arrangement for temporary storage of landfillable waste during monsoon. So in monsoon, these SLFs are not to be used, and inspect the landfill regularly, weekly during operation and quarterly after closure, to detect evidence of any deterioration, malfunction, or improper operation of runoff or runoff control system, such as erosion of the final cover, proper functioning of leachate of control system, and monitor the groundwater in upstream and downstream area of SLF. Next. So this is again a schematic diagram of secured landfill, which is having the complete thing. This you can go through. It is given in Rule 2016. Next. This is again a schematic diagram of common treatment and disposal facility, where the mixed unrecyclable municipal waste, solid waste is coming. It is dumped there, and from there it is taken and sent to the combustion for more than 850 degrees centigrade, and sent through the boiler and the exhaust gas, and the steam is recovered, which is used for their any operations. And then exhaust gases are cleaned through scrubbers and various other filters, and then clean exhaust gas is emitted in the ambient air with proper monitoring as per the CPCB norms. And whatever the residue or the ash which is there, it is covered and taken back to the secured landfilling area, and which is with proper treatment it is stored. Next. Now, with regard to contingency plan, emergency and contingency plan is the responsibility of the occupier and the operator to make all the employees aware about the emergency procedures. And emergency contingency plan establish the plan and procedures that must be taken to minimize hazards to human health and the environment caused by explosion, fire, or unplanned, sudden or non-sudden release of hazardous waste. So that contingency plan must be available, and equally the mock drill and various other evaluation mechanism has to be placed. And the general requirement as given in the rule is that all operation must minimize the possibility of a fire, explosion, or any unplanned release of hazardous waste or hazardous waste constituent to air, soil, or surface water that could threaten human health or environment. This is the most common problem in while handling the hazardous waste. which is not being taken care. At all the time, there must be at least one employer either on the premises or on call with the responsibility for coordinating all emergency response measure. This employee may be the environmental officer or emergency coordinator, because once we are storing the storage area away from the site or from the occupier main premises, so it cannot be left locked. One must has to be there. All communication and alarm system also to be placed there. Fire protection equipment, it should be treated as good as the factory premises. With all these control has to be there. All hazardous waste handling personnel must have immediate access to the internal alarm or emergency communication equipment. The occupier must maintain L space to allow the unobstructed movement of personal, fire protection equipment, spill control equipment, and decontamination equipment to any area of the operation in emergency. This is a gross failure in most of the places where this storage is being done. Next. Use of contingency plan. In the event of emergency, the contingency plan is implemented by calling the fire department. So must have a provision containing and cleaning up small spills and release if possible. Now, in case of any contingency or any emergency, what all contacting a private contractor to contain and clean up large spill and releases, because when you are storing certain liquid or some thing in the container, in case there is a spillage, you must have a spillage control program. Informing head of the organization about the incident. Now, this is again not being followed, that any of the incident which happens, the top management or the head of the organization is not at all aware. And this has to be put into the minutes of meeting or some of the meeting where this should be brought into that, whether any incident has happened or not. In case
Hello?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Sorry to interrupt you, sir. Sir, we are exiting our time, sir. So we have to start with the question and answer session also.
Okay. Just I think I'll take around 10 minutes. I'll take and finish it.
Okay, sir, because we are having a question answer round also after that, and after that we need to wind up. That's why, sir.
Sure.
Okay, yeah. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
So the emergency communications, if only one employee is on the premises, so he must have a facility of the to communicate, and his name, telephone number, and all emergency coordinators number has to be available with him. The location of fire extinguishers and spill control materials must be available with him. Emergency response equipments like your internal and external communications equipment, fire control equipment, water supply with adequate volume and pressure of fire suppression and spill control equipment, etc. also to be there. Next. So these are the some important definitions which you can go through with that. The one is your actual user, who is the actual user, who is the occupier. It is given. Then authorizations. What is authorization? It is a permission for generation and handling, collection and reception, treatment, transport, storage. That is called authorization. And in every aspect, the authorization has to be taken as per that is granted by Rule 2 of Rule 6, Sub Rule 2 and of Rule 6 and Rule 2016. One is the Basel Convention, in which the United Nations Environmental Programme Convention of the Control of Transboundary Movement of Hazardous Waste and their disposal. And the captive facilities, where the captive treatment, storage and disposal facilities there, co-processing, disposal mechanism, export and exporters, environmental sound management. So we have said many times environmental sound management. What is environmental sound management? Is the that hazardous waste means taking all steps required to ensure that hazardous waste and other waste are managed in a manner which shall protect health and environment against the adverse effect. The facility we have discussed. Next. Next. The hazardous waste is what is the hazardous waste? Any waste which be reason of characteristics such as physical, chemical, biological, and any other reactive, toxic, flammable, which we have already discussed. Next. Please go ahead. Next. This is again given. These are the terms which are used: importer, exporter, manifest. So manifest is the transport document. And many times it is asked what all the manifest is there. So the document used for transporting the hazardous waste. The occupier is the factory owner, the operator of disposal facility, a person who owns a operator, operates a facility or for collection, reception, treatment, storage, and disposal of hazardous waste. Other waste. Other waste is again a new term which has come in 2016. This is specified in Part B and Part D of the Schedule 3 of Import and Export and includes all such waste generated indigenously within the country. Then pre-processing, recycling, reuse, recovery, storage, transboundary movement. Any movement hazardous or other waste from an area under the jurisdiction of one country to or through an area under the jurisdiction of another country or through area not under the jurisdiction of any country. So provide at least 2 countries are involved in the movement. Then your treatment. What kind of treatment has to be there? Next. We have spoken TSDF. That is very clearly we have gone through. Then utilization of waste oil and how it is to be used for other resources for recovery or for remanufacturing or as a energy. Next. These are the hazardous waste characterized given in Rule 2016, the list of hazardous characteristics which we have given. The code is also given there. You can refer Rule 2016. All these information are taken from there. So H1 is explosive, H3 is flammable liquid, H4 4.1 is flammable solids, H4.2 is substance or waste liable to spontaneous combustion. Likewise. Next. Next. Just I just put in because it was having a lot of information that with me, so I thought to share with you, but with the time constraint, we are not able to see. Here, the another chapter opens with the hazardous and other waste management through proposed operating practices. So Rule 2016 is asking to have certain procedures, and there are around 10 to 12 procedure mandatory which are directly or indirectly to be made available with the occupier or the treatment facilities. So that I have not explained here because I was knowing that it's going to cross the time. So here, let us manage hazardous waste handling and disposal, and it will help to stop health hazard before they stop you. So there is certain knowledge checks in your chat box. People can write. This is some questions are there. It will be taken. Whosoever is controlling the screen, just make it 10 seconds and then move it. And I'll just read it out. The most common route of just you have to write. Need not to write one even. Just write A, B, C, D, and then most common route of entry by which hazardous material are introduced into the body is inhalation, absorption, ingestion, injection. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yes. Next. So answer is inhalation. Next. Flammability is which type of hazard? Carcinogenic, health, physical, mutagenic. Next. It is physical. Next. Which of the following hazards is an example of physical hazard? Oxidizer, exposure to carcinogen, chronic toxicity, and acute toxicity. Next. It is oxidizer. Which of the following hazards is an example of a health hazard? Fire hazard, acute toxicity, explosive, high pressure. That is acute toxicity. Which of the following is the preferred order of controlling hazards or hierarchy of control for hazardous material? That is PPE, administrative control. So the answer is elimination, engineering control, administration control, and PPE. So this is the hierarchy. When transferring flammable liquid from one container to another, the container should be to prevent static electricity from creating a fire hazard. Ventilated or pressurized, ventilated or and pressurized, bonded or grounded, and bonded and grounded. So it is D. It is bonded and grounded. Which of the following hazard is an example of an engineering control? So answer is enclosing a operation to prevent contact with the hazardous material. So let's begin. Next, to start managing the waste. It is a beginning, and thank you very much for giving time and to understand about the hazardous waste management system. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the presentation and explaining the topic in simplifying way. Please put your questions in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself and ask directly. Sir, there are 1-2 questions asked in the chat box. First one is from Sri Hari, sir. The question is greenhouse gas considered as HW? And the second question is from Surendra Mankar, sir. He's asking you to elaborate renew energy waste hazard and its disposal.
Greenhouse gases are said to be hazardous waste because they are harmful, and that is how by virtue of the name itself, because it has to be used in a very proper manner. So it is considered as a hazardous waste. And Surinder Mankarji, which saying that renewable energy waste management and its disposal. Renewable energy, until it is used in an environmentally friendly manner and not creating any environmental or any residue or any after effects. So it is said to be a sound treatment, or you can say processing, and their waste hazard is again has to be classified as given in the hazardous waste management rule. Yes. So thank you very much. In case there is no question, then we can, I'll hand over to Shushma, or who's handling Shweta.
Thank you, sir, and audience. Our next session for Sadgun Sangh 76 virtual webinar is on 30th April 2022. It will be conducted by speaker Mr. Afzal Hassan. He shall be covering following topics: Introduction of SMPV Rules 2016, Applicable Code for Design, Construction and Testing for Pressure Vessel, Design Requirement of Static and Mobile Pressure Vessel, Storage Requirement of Pressure Vessels, License Requirement, Facilities Required at Gas Tanker Degassing Station, followed by question and answer session. Paryavartan 2022. Paryavartan is an annual virtual exhibition and conference organization by ICS. This year, we are going to celebrate Paryavartan from 2nd to 4th June. Here is a banner of Paryavartan with the theme Only One Earth. During Paryavartan, we will be having eminent environmentalists from various industries sharing their views and knowledge about sustainable environment. So do join us during the Paryavartan. ICS is pleased to provide you all its research and development, integrated management system, QMS, EMS, and OHSAS. Excellence in education management, ISO made easy in Gujarati, Marathi, Telugu, and Hindi. Feedback form. Please register on www.sadgunsang.org and go in and log in and give us your feedbacks. On behalf of Sadgun Sang team, I would like to express my gratitude to all esteemed delegates of the webinar for their presence and contribution to make this webinar a great success. Thank you for being a part of the Sadgun Sang.